Dave Vaughan coming to you live and direct from my home here in South Wales, absolutely hammered. Enjoying the rest, enjoying satisfaction, enjoying my union with the Lord. I just want to thank you guys for your kind responses off the back of our week of whack that I did together with my good friend Phil Smith. If you haven't seen those videos, just 6 small videos, these short clips that we put out every day, just reliving some of the stories, some of the encounters that me and Phil have had together over the last 8 years. They're just funny, drunk stories. And the reason I put those videos out there was just because of the stirriness in my heart and the knowing that I have right now that things are about to go to a whole nother level. The last 8 years, we've put on so many conferences, so many events. It's been amazing to see just the evolution and the journey that we've been on together. Just getting the fresh revelation of the gospel, awakening to reality. I mean, moving from just so many religious mindsets into these new areas of consciousness and of being together. The excitement that we're beginning to feel just regarding humanity and the fact that salvation has come. Salvation didn't come as a package, it came as a person, and the Lamb took away the sin of the entire world. And now humanity is waking up to the reality of his sonship, of the glory of who it truly is. So it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And over those 8 years, we've put on so many events. We've put on 5 or 6 slosh fests, a massive glory fest. We've put on regular meetings. We've put on seminars. We've put on conferences. We've done all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's been awesome. But I just feel like, now there's going to be a shift in focus. And we're going to go from almost like a conference culture where we go and get hammered and then 4 months later we go and get hammered to a place of sustainability where we just actually just be who we are and we live life and we enjoy Eden. And there's a deep desire that's on the inside of us to gather, and somehow organically, spontaneously, we're going to find ourselves together. And then out on a daily basis, in the workplace, in school, in college, wherever we go, in the gym, in Starbucks, in the Indian restaurant, we're just going to, out of that fresh recognition, a recognition of our identity, we're going to become and be who we are, which is releases of heaven into earth. We're going to create worlds everywhere that we go. Worlds are going to be created within worlds, wheels within wheels. We're going to release atmospheres that are just going to change entire regions, and somehow we're not going to facilitate great transformation because great transformation has already come. The glory of the Lord fills the entire world, but we're actually going to begin to see the knowledge of that glory bubble up all around us, and that's what I'm excited about. So I've been thinking a lot about evolving outside of the 4 walls of religion, evolving outside of the 4 walls of Christianity, evolving outside of the 4 walls of the conference culture. There's some things that are going on out there that are great, and there were some that were called to be apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, wherever, but not all of us. The reality of it is, for most of us, we're just going to live a regular life, yet it is a regular life of heaven on earth, a sustainable reality of bliss that we can live in every single day. So it's good to go to some stuff and get encouraged, but then we've got to come away and we've got to live a life. And what I'm seeing right now is the focus is going to shift from the going to the being, from the doing to the being, from the very mundane and the structured to the organic and the spontaneous, and we're going to see some amazing stuff. So that was the reason I put those videos out. And in putting those videos out, I'm not reminiscing. It's not that I'm putting them out and saying, man, we had such a good time 8 years ago, but there's nothing happening now. Firstly, I'm not reminiscing, I'm just encouraging you that this can be an everyday reality. These stories were all stories that came from outside of the 4 walls of the conference culture, at a puck fair, on the streets in Sheffield, in the Wirral, on the streets, in a shopping centre. I mean, just enjoying and engaging in life. Secondly, I'm not worried in one sense whether we encounter stuff or not. I'm not seeking an encounter of a lifetime. I'm living a lifetime encounter called salvation. I'm just living out reality. I'm not too worried if I never see anything ever again. I always see stuff all around me in nature, in creation. I'm continually engaging in life. Life gets me drunk. It's amazing. So I'm not saying there was stuff happening back end down the road and it's not now. As a matter of fact, we're continually seeing stuff. stuff. Some of you would have saw the thing I put on Facebook the other day that, like, you know, just a couple of days ago, a 40-minute journey took me 13 minutes. There were people that, like, were witnesses of that, you know, physically shifted, physically transported down the road. Fun stuff like that happens, you know, shift happens, you know. So I'm not reminiscing, and I'm not saying that, like, we need to have this major focus on the supernatural, but I am encouraged that our humanity is amazing. And the reality of it is everyday life can be bliss. So in this next two videos, what I want to do is I want to share a little bit of what I experienced from 95 to 97, because for me, that gives something of a framework of what I know is beginning to bubble up within humanity. And this is where I think the shift is happening in our focus, in our thinking, and we can get quite excited about it because it's good news, right? It's just how it is. So from 92 to 95, I was part of this little Pentecostal church. I'd come out of the whole drug culture. Up until 92, for 3 years, I hadn't had a day without drinking drugs, hammered every single day, just a weirdo, crazy nut job, basically. Then one day I'm walking down the road from my mother's, and suddenly I encounter the glory of God. I'm in a bubble of the presence of God. I got long hair and listened to all sorts of crazy music, which I still listen to now, but back then I sort of idolized it all. Hang out with a bunch of crazy people. I mean, I was nuts. Suddenly I find myself in a bubble of the glory of God. And while I was in that bubble, I realized for the first time in my life that God was so real, and that He loved me, and that He wanted to possess my life and wanted to take me to a whole nother level. So over that week, encountering Him, I got delivered from a drink and drug addiction, got totally set free, started going to church, and then I ended up in this old Pentecostal church, me and Donna together. And we just started going along, and dude, we got so caught up in the whole religious structure. I mean, I stopped Donna from wearing red, wearing makeup. I mean, I made her wear a hat to church. We would go to church 10 times a week. We were hammering away on the treadmill of religion. I mean, I couldn't work any harder. I was ticking every box, jumping through every hoop. I used to wear suits to church. I mean, they had me penciled in as the new pastor. I mean, it was all going crazy. And there was something in me of a desire to encounter God that was amazing. But what it did was it got caught up in the whole religious structure, in spiritual exercises, in all sorts of weird stuff. I would get up every morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, and would pray through two A4 sheets of stuff. Now, if I prayed through the sheets over 2 hours, I would have such a spiritual pride that would come on me, and I'd feel better than everyone else. If I didn't pray through the A4 sheets, I would have this condemnation and shame that would come on me. I wouldn't be able to go back into the prayer closet for 3 days, and when I'd eventually re-engage my spiritual activity, I would literally crawl into the room on hands and knees, and I would say, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm such a worm. I'm such a dog. Will you forgive me?" And I'd weep for a little bit. And then he'd be like, "Come on, son, cheer up a little bit." Well, one day, while I was in there doing my religious stuff with this great desire to know and to encounter God, I go into this visionary experience, and I see this monument that was made up of all these big boulders. And I thought, man, God has erected a statue, a memorial in honor of my religious service. And I was so pleased. And then all of a sudden, I heard the Lord speak to me, and He said, "Son, this is a monument of dead works that you've erected, and it's all going to come crumbling down." And then I remember at that moment watching the whole thing dissolve. I mean, you imagine the disappointment that, like, God may not have been pleased with my religious service. What else could I do? I mean, I was doing everything. I couldn't take effort to a whole nother level. I mean, I was worn out. I was tired out. The funny thing was, in this little church, every month they would have the Joy magazine, which was the Pentecostal magazine of the day, which was ironic in itself because I had no joy. The people in the church had no joy. We were as miserable as sin. I mean, it was full of, like, religious deadheads, seriously. And, like, we were just all miserable together, but we were together, so we kept going, you know. And I remember there would be, like, a newsletter section. And every month there would be this whole page where there would be letters. And it seemed to be for a while that the topic of conversation was Rodney Howard-Browne. Rodney Howard-Browne was seeing this breakout of the glory of God. And there was like a dual response that was going out. One week, intercessors for Britain would be saying, you know, we want to come out against Rodney Howard-Browne. This thing is demonic. You know, don't go to any of his meetings. The following month, there would be a pastor who would say something like, Rodney Howard-Browne came to our church, has been transformed. The glory of God's breaking out. Well, it got my attention and I thought, who's this guy? So I ended up booking to go to Earl's Court Olympia in 1995 for a week of meetings with Rodney Howard-Browne. And I remember on the bus on the way down, weeping, sat there with my friend, crying, saying, Lord, I've done all I can. I am worn out. I remember when I was taking drugs, it was more fun than this. This isn't fun anymore. I'm done with it. If you don't touch me, I'm going back to the bong. You know what I mean? I am done. I'm going to go back to the bong and I'm going to enjoy life, which was a better option for me at the time. So anyway, we get to the meetings, and I remember for the first 3 days in Earl's Court Olympia, I was so offended. I mean, Rodney came out one day and said, today I'm going a hunting. I'm going to shoot me some religious cows. I'm going a hunting. If you're a religious cow, keep your head down because I'm going to take it off. And I'm thinking, who's this guy? But dude, the manifestations were extreme. I mean, people clucking like chickens, barking like dogs, having orgasmic, ecstatic experiences on the seats. I remember this one girl making all these noises. I'm thinking, dude, this isn't right, man. This is not right. After 3 days, I got hammered drunk in the glory. People would be led out from morning to night. Rodney would say, that's God's operating table. Don't touch them. You don't know what's going on with them. They could be having an encounter. Their lives being transformed. Leave them there. Well, I got hit and I stayed there. And for the rest of the week while I was there, in the meetings, I would get hammered drunk and I would lie out all day in the presence of God. In the nights, we would go back to this little flat where we would stay in, me and my friend. And I remember the glory of God would invade. I mean, there was such a tangible realm of the glory that would hit that little flat that we were in. Now, I know the glory's everywhere, and I know the gospel. This was a tangible knowledge of the glory that would hit. It was heaven on earth in reality. Now, I know heaven is on earth. I know the earth is filled with his glory. This was reality. This was tangible, physical reality breaking out all around me. So I remember the one night we were there, and all of a sudden, as we were sat there, there was a big armchair, and the presence of God was so strong, and suddenly someone or something sat in the armchair. We couldn't see it, but for an hour, we just looked at that armchair, totally struck me, wondering what was going on. The next night, as we sat there in the glory of God, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I remember this bright light invading the room, and me and my friend hid our faces on the floor as this light illuminated, a physical light illuminated the entire room, and we were like, dude, what's going on? The last night, I remember, I was led on the sofa, my friend was asleep on the floor, and I remember hearing the door go. And I remember thinking, oh, it must be Lynn whose flat it is. She must be coming in from work because she used to work nights and weird shifts because she was a nurse in Hammersmith in London. And I thought, man, she may have been working till 3 in the morning or something strange. And I remember hearing the door and I heard someone come in. Then I heard the door come into our room and it shut. And suddenly someone came and stood over the top of my friend. And as I looked up, there was a big 8-foot angel. And he had ringlet white hair, and his face looked like it had been chiseled out of stone, and he just looked at me, and I sunk into the sofa in like paralyzed, immobilized fear, wondering what was going on. Then, the last night, I always remember this, the fire of God came on me in the meeting, and I remember my spirit came up out of my body, and I'm up in the auditorium, and every word that Rodney spoke for 3 hours penetrated who I was. And I looked at my body and my body was on fire. And for 3 hours I was struck mute. At the end of those 3 hours we left the meeting and we get on the tube to go back to the little flat where we were staying. And I remember being on the tube and it was full of commuters, which was weird because it was late at night. But a tube had broken down and they put all these commuters on the tube that we were on. So it was packed full of people and the glory of God on us was just so heavy. I mean, are you ready to see glory invasion? Glory on the train, glory on the plane, glory on the dentist, checking out your teeth is going to break out, man. We've already been seeing it the last 8 years, but I'm talking another level. A focus, a reshifting of reality. I mean, something breaking out everywhere you go. And organically God arranging for you to be with people every day. Every day for 18 months, I was with people. I'm going to share all this stuff on the next video. But it just blew my mind what the Lord did. And I know it's a framework for where this thing is going. See, what we're doing right now and what we've done for the last 8 years is good. But there's better. You know, there's sustainable. There is something that he's wanting to break out of life. that is going to be so amazing, so natural. It's going to have so much of an ease on it. It's going to disengage us from a lot of the surrogate, substitute things that we've been latched onto, those teats that we're trying to get the last drop of milk out of. Dude, we are a land flowing with milk and honey. This thing is effortless. It is going to pop. So we're on the tube and the glory's so heavy, and one by one the commuters on the tube, as they looked at us, started to weep into the presence of God. And I remember thinking, man, why are those people crying? What's going on, Lord? Why are they looking at us? Then all of a sudden, one of them came over, a suited guy with his briefcase, and he says, where have you guys been? And I said, do you know what? I said, we've been to a meeting up the road. God is so real, man, and he loves you with an everlasting love. And he said, if God loves me, why is he allowing my grandmother to die of cancer in hospital? He said, will you pray for her right now? And we took my man by the hands, and we just released the glory and the presence of God all over him. And I remember the glory didn't just hit that man, it hit the entire tube. And I remember staggering off that tube with a bunch of commuters and walking through the streets of London and seeing the glory of God break out in an amazing way. Came back from those meetings totally transformed. For 18 months, I saw a supernatural, organic, spontaneous breakout of the glory. We weren't part of a church. We had nothing to do with church. We had to leave. We had to leave that little Pentecostal church because there was just no room for what was happening. But for 18 months, outside of the four walls of Christianity, outside of the four walls of church, we saw an amazing, organic, orgasmic breakout of the glory of God. It's going to be organic and it's going to be orgasmic. It's going to be okay. It's going to be ecstatic. This thing is going to go wild. So just wanted to lay that as a little bit of a foundation. If you haven't watched those videos that I put up, watch them. If you've enjoyed this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, wherever. I don't really care. But listen, in 2 or 3 days' time, I'm going to put up the next video. On that video, I'm going to share what happened when I went home from those meetings and what I encountered with my family for 18 months. Such a realm of heaven on earth, such a realm of reality. God supernaturally arranging for about 15 of us to be together every day for 18 months. No telephone, no mobile phone, no Facebook, no social networking. Just a supernatural, spontaneous getting together that caused so much glory to break out. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.